Barnstable Village moves forward with plans to become the town's second cultural district, and budget planning continues for Barnstable Public Schools. Plus, a local junk dealer will have to close its doors for 15 days after repeated storage violations. These stories and more on this episode of Barnstable Today. It's Monday, January 13th, 2014. I'm Sarah Mantle. Barnstable Village could soon be the town's newest cultural district. Thursday, members of the Massachusetts Cultural Council toured the proposed district. The walking tour was part of the application process and included stops at the Cape Cod Art Association, Sturgis Library, and Barnstable Harbor. Town manager Tom Lynch attended the tour and says the visit went well.
The second town in Massachusetts to have two in one community, and we put out a abbreviated review of the various things that would be going on for that day, but there was a 1-inch thick packet, and the Mass Cultural Council came down, and Anita Walker's the executive director. She had several people with her, and they had a whole series of questions. They met with community activists and staff really first, and then had a grand tour, and then had a meeting in the afternoon with more community leaders to really gauge what the district was going to look like, what the commitment was from folks. Roberta Miller from the Cape Cod Art Association was terrific in terms of, talking about the fact they'd be responsible for the activities and whatever that would go on in the cultural district.
The Massachusetts Cultural Council will consider the application at its next board meeting. Town officials expect to hear back sometime in March. Town managers from across the Cape are sharing ideas and best practices. Lynch says the annual Cape Managers meeting was held in Barnstable last week.
There we had 3 different presentations, one from the Sheriff's Department on Regional 911 dispatch that he's interested in providing. Then the County Commissioner Sheila Lyons was there, and she wanted to talk, along with RTA representatives, to talk about bike safety and a program they have there. And I had invited Wendy Northross to come to talk about economic development, ways the Chamber can help communities with economic development. She's very helpful in our community, works on a variety of boards and commissions, and helps us stimulate economic development throughout our town. And we thought it would be a good chance for other communities to hear ways they could participate.
Lynch says the Cape Managers meeting was informative and productive. Budget planning for Barnstable Public Schools continues. Superintendent Dr. Mary Schakowsky says last week town councilors met with the school committee to discuss budget requests and needs.
But what we focused on at our particular meeting was the space needs that we have at our elementary schools. And once again, I think the council was very, very supportive last year when I presented the budget with regards to removing those 5 remaining portables that really aren't sufficient to house students and staff for education. So we talked about, what are the options? And most recently we had a study done with TBA Architects, and they've given us their initial findings and come in significantly higher than what we proposed. And once again, we have a capital improvement project budget item up for approval, and it's a little over $5 million for a new early learning center. But our space needs are such that, it's a good thing. I think when you think about we've got increasing enrollment, particularly at our elementary levels, I think that's good. But when you close the 3 elementary schools, and now we've got classrooms that are, some instruction is taking place in hallways and so on and so forth, we really need to focus on what is in the best interest of the students as far as space at the elementary level. And so
Schakowsky says the budget should be wrapped up by the end of next month. A local disposal and recycling center must close its doors for 15 days following this morning's licensing authority hearing. Ferreira's Recycling Center on Yarmouth Road in Hyannis was cited for continually storing large piles of recyclables throughout the property. During the hearing, Officer Stephen Marr detailed those violations.
These different slides show different areas that Mr. Ferreira has on his property and where he's keeping things stored. The picture that you're looking at right now is taken from a property outside of his looking up towards his property. It's the back of the property line. These two particular pictures show, again, the rear of the property and then storage of tires and aluminum sinks and things like that. And again, the thing to keep in mind through all this is that by the license, these things should be kept inside at night, and basically what we're asserting is that he's not doing that. This pile is actually standing at one end of the building looking out across the property. And we found two separate piles. One mostly consisted of cardboard, paper, and those related products. And then there was another pile of aluminum and other related metals. That's looking directly across the property to the back, to the far property line. In and of itself, the property outside, there's piles, and the piles are kept separate and things of that nature. But again, the issue is that the storage of the materials is not being kept inside.
Manager Timothy Ferreira responded to those allegations.
As far as the materials that are outside, that was not from a compactor, you asked one of my competitors what he thought about it. Obviously, they're going to tell you different. I bail that. I do have a hauler's permit, which we're going through the town doing workshops of how do we recycle. Well, this is how you recycle. You tell them one license you can't do it, and then you're telling me go get another permit allows. So the cardboard, is it gone? It's been gone. It was the first thing that was moved out of there. Would you see the picture? That's for the first picture. That's not the 9th picture. The 9th picture, I saw Mr. Tom Perry there with the black vehicle. I was in the office and watched him, allowed him to take the picture because I knew that the pile was completely gone. I hired Pena Sanitation deliberately and lost the revenue from the cardboard because I bail it and I recycle it. So it's not being there as trash, the recyclables. As far as the light iron, the scrap metal, it's called light iron. I think what the board is ignorant, as far as not being rude, I'm saying about education on recycling. I think that if we mimic other towns and cities to see how they've gotten compliance, we could work. And I think this town has a serious issue with recycling. Not it's a bad thing. I think we can all work together and see that we can get this handled in a respectful way.
Ultimately, the licensing authority found Ferreira guilty of violating storage regulations and ordered the business to close for a period of 30 days with only 15 to serve. The remaining 15 days will be held for 1 year in the event of any further violations. The 15-day closure will begin February 13th. Now it's time to take a look at sports with Brenna McCoubry.
Good evening, Barnstable. I'm Brenna McCoubry here with all things New England and Barnstable sports. Over the weekend, the New England Patriots had a late game Saturday night after having a bye week. They hosted the Indianapolis Colts and came out with a 43-22 victory. We follow the Patriots deeper into the playoffs as they travel to Denver, Colorado to play the Broncos. You can catch that game on CBS at 3 p.m. this upcoming Sunday. Also this past Saturday, the Boston Celtics had a matchup against the Portland Trail Blazers. The Seas unfortunately lost 112-104 on the road, but will be back tonight in Boston. Tip-off is at 7:30 p.m. versus the Houston Rockets. It was a low-scoring game Saturday night for the Boston Bruins, but they were able to come out on top 1-0 versus the San Jose Sharks. The Bees will play again tomorrow at the TD Garden versus the Toronto Maple Leafs. Puck drops at 7 p.m. Now let's take a look at our favorite Barnstable High School teams. The boys JV and varsity basketball teams will be hosting Sandwich tonight. JV will begin at 5 p.m. and varsity at 6:30. The girls JV basketball team will have a 5 p.m. start and varsity at 6:30. Both will be away at Sandwich. Tomorrow, all basketball teams will be at it again, this time taking on rival the Falmouth Clippers. All girls basketball teams will be away, freshmen at 3:30, JV at 5, and varsity tip-off at 6:30. Catch the boys teams at home in Barnstable High School Gymnasium as they host the Clippers, freshmen at 3:30, JV at 5, and varsity at 6:30. That's all for New England and Red Raiders sports. Here on Barnstable Today, I'm Brenna McCoubry.
Thanks for tuning in. For Barnstable Today, I'm Sarah Mannel.